Let's move on to this next news story from Anthony Wood over at IGN. FromSoftware thinks there's room for improvement in its game design if players can't get by without a guide. Elden Ring creator Hidetaka Miyazaki has said that using guides to beat FromSoftware titles is a perfectly valid playstyle in a new interview with PC Gamer.
I would hope.
Yeah, right. But that the Japanese studio has room for improvement if players who want to go in fresh can't beat the game organically. Of course, players are going to consult guides, and there's going to be a wealth of information on the web and in their communities where they have access to the secrets and strategies, explained Miyazaki, ahead of release of Elden Ring's one and only DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, later this month. We expect that. Elden Ring's open world map and legacy dungeons are packed full of easy to miss collectibles and brutally difficult bosses that render the use of guides all but mandatory to some degree for all but the most determined of players. During the interview, the FromSoftware president made it clear that moving through Elden Ring and other games guide in hand was a perfectly valid playstyle, but that the studio also hadn't designed its titles with that approach in mind. We obviously understand players use guides, but we don't make or plan anything with that as a prerequisite, said Miyazaki. If anything, we try to cater to the player who's completely blind and wants to go through organically. If they can't do it, then there's some room for improvement on our behalf, and we'd like to try to embrace those players more in the future. I just kind of mentioned it to you before the show, but I just love how his take here almost comes across like he's just now realizing that their games are hard.
What do you mean that? What do you mean our games are hard? What are you guys talking about?
Wait, you people actually like can't beat our game without a guide? Really? Huh. Maybe we need to work on this. We need to, as he says, embrace those players more in the future. Yeah, that would be great. Put a difficulty slider in there, please. I would love to beat Elden Ring, but I don't know if I ever will. That same design ethos will certainly be seen in the upcoming DLC Shadow of the Erdtree, which is coming to Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, PS4, PS5, and PC on June 21st. Ooh, coming up soon. That's 4 days away. However, in order to access the new content, players will first have to defeat Mohg, the Lord of Blood, a task that many Steam gamers have yet to complete, and gain access to the withered arm hanging from a split cocoon, which acts as a starting point for the DLC. So there you have it. Do you think I was half joking about adding difficulty, levels in their game, but do you think that's ever actually a possibility? Like maybe the next game does have like a little bit of like, oh, okay, here's like a slightly easier, or like I could see them instead of doing like easy, medium, hard, it would be like a minus
simplified.
It would be I think it would be very technical. It would have very technical verbiage to it. Like it would just be like a, I don't know what they would call it, but it'd be like minus 10% damage or something like that. Like you would get some like weird buff or something like that. Like you wouldn't actually change your difficulty, but maybe they just put an item in the game that like gives you minus
buffs,
minus so much percentage like damage or like damage reduction or something like that.
Right. So it's still tough as nails, but you get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah.
If you turn the difficulty down. Oh yeah, I can see that.
Something like that.
I don't think they're ever going to make it like full on easier, because they have such a reputation for it at this point that if you were to do now, and you know what, they could, because it's always optional, right? As long as you make it optional, I don't see why they couldn't put in an easier mode. Because and people are going to cry about it and they're going to go, well, it's not a Souls game. Well, if it's not a Souls game to you, then play it the way that Miyazaki intended it for you, and there you go. It's a Souls game.
Just ignore
people that want to play it and don't care about your validation of them playing a Souls game can play it on easy. There you go. Random internet person with 25 followers.
That's the wildest thing, is because as soon as anything like this ever comes up in discussions, immediately the internet erupts into like, well, if it's easier, then anyone can beat it, and then like the whole satisfaction of beating the game is gone, and blah blah blah. It's like, the challenge is missing, and it's not even fun.
Don't you want more of them?
Yeah, it's like, so what? Like, just ignore it. You don't have, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it. Like every game I buy comes with a bunch of accessibility modes, which I'm very glad they're there, but I don't use them because I don't need them.
Yeah,
I
don't
ignore
need
them. But like, it's not like it's like, oh, now people with handicaps can play this game. I can't believe it. Like, no, that's wild. That's a wild.
They didn't really beat the game. They didn't.
Yeah.
Sir, sit down.
That's the equivalent, is like saying like, oh, if you put an easy mode in it, it's like, well, it's not the real game. It's like, what? No, it's still the game. They're
right. Like,
it.
why do you care? Did you make the game?
Yeah.
Are you profiting from the game? Do you make $1 every time somebody beats it on hard? Why do you care?
Yeah, absolutely wild. So I would
be
love
glad
it
that they're playing and buying the game that you like, so you get another one of those games, dummy.
Right, 100%. But even if it did come down to like, oh, we're not going to drop the difficulty, but yeah, we'll give you some buffs. It's like, okay, as long as it's like halfway substantial. Like that was one thing that I discovered way too late in the game with Hades, because Hades was kicking my butt. They have stuff like that. Like you can turn on like it starts out at like -10. It's like a 10% damage buff. Mm-hmm. But then every time you die, like it actually kind of incrementally goes up for you. And I found that I'm like, oh, this is so much better, because again, I'm bad at video games. And I loved Hades so much, and I was getting my butt kicked. And so I finally found that, like, I don't know, 20 hours into my gameplay. Like, why didn't I know about this forever ago? And it was amazing. So if they implemented like an item piece that you could do that, like, oh, that'd be so cool. Like, all right, here's your armor set. And I don't care if it looks goofy too. Like I would almost love it if it's like this armor set you can get and they purposely make it like super goofy. So like just to troll you, like, all right, if you're gonna use it, you're gonna look like a giant, like, I don't know,
it's
Michelin
like
man or something.
a big corn dog or something that you that you wear.
I would love it. I'd be all in. I'd embrace the corn dog. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. If they make it easier, I'm fine with it. I don't care. It's not going to affect the main game at all, or the challenge level, as long as you leave it regular. Yeah. So
now you've played Elden Ring.
I have.
Have you beat it?
I have not.
Have you?
Michaela is incredibly difficult, and I put it down some time ago and have not come back.
Okay.
I plan to at some point.
Did you beat Moog, the Lord of Blood?
I believe.
Because I think he's an optional boss, so you don't have to. Like, you can beat the game without.
That name sounds familiar.
Okay.
What did he look like? Do you know?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't know. I never got to win my game. I didn't get very far in mine. I put a lot of hours in my game, but did not get.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I would have to start over, because when you commit to a Souls game, like you got to learn muscle memories, you got to learn patterns, you got to get back into the groove of things, and then you have to be consistently playing it so that you can get as good as you can, to be able to defeat bosses. And that means you basically can't play anything else.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't fight him, but I think I accidentally stumbled into his area one time and then either ran away immediately or like died. Did not go back because he looks really familiar. But yeah. Okay. So you don't have so I take it that you don't necessarily have any interest then in picking up the DLC since you haven't gotten.
I mean,
far.
I do in time. Look, I adore Elden Ring. It's just hard as nails. Yeah. That's all. And I know people are gonna say, "Well, it's the easiest one," because it's hard. I'm sorry. Just because you sit there and you're able to grind, bump your head against the wall for 500 hours. I want to play other games too.
I got too many other games to play. Yeah.
Too many other games to play to just stick to doing that one. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying that Elden Ring is bad. It is completely the opposite. It is a fantastic game. I just don't have the time when there's other games out that I want to play.
100%. I almost would like to get back into it after I finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I keep saying.
You're still not done?
So, we were gone on like a little trip for our anniversary last weekend, and then, or like I guess that was 2 weekends ago, And then this past weekend, we were house sitting for someone else. Now, both places, they didn't have good enough internet for me to stream it on my Steam Deck. I didn't take my PlayStation with me. So, no, I have not finished it. I planned on finishing it a couple weekends ago when we were on that trip during Summer Game Fest. Or that weekend, you were working and I was slacking. The internet wasn't good enough. So I'm still not done. But I'm like, all right, I need to just hunker down and get it done. But I'm starting to feel like, okay, I get that done. Maybe I could jump back into Elden Ring, because I have other smaller games, but I can't think of any like big game I have right now that would be on that caliber. So like I could still play the smaller games with the big game. So I don't know. We'll see. I just always get hyped, like with the trailers for the Shadow of the Erdtree. Like it looks so cool, even though I know I'm never going to be good enough and I'll probably never be able to play it. But it's a cool game. Video games are cool,
Video games rule, man. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.